Can we call you Ted?
Of course. Don't you?
No, not normally. Ted, how are talks going with the other side on the budget situation?
Well, we are talking. Thankfully, I had a talk earlier this morning with Senator Harris. Our staffs are talking, and so I remain hopeful, but I remain incredibly concerned. I have never been more concerned about the future, the well-being of our state than I am right now. The consequences of us failing to solve this budget problem are catastrophic. Not only would it affect over $850 million in funding for K through 12 education, but it would put at risk, I believe, funding for higher education because of our failure to maintain effort and thereby endanger stimulus resources. I think if we do not solve this soon, it will jeopardize our ability to apply for Race to the Top funds, which could involve multiple millions of dollars. The Race to the Top application has to be submitted, I think, by January the 17th. And quite frankly, if this isn't solved, I see no reason to even apply for those funds, because if we find ourselves cutting education as substantially as we would need to cut education, I think our application would be irrelevant in terms of being able to compete for those resources.
Governor, do you think that the Republicans are sort of setting you up so that going into the election year that you can't say that you solve school funding, that there's huge cuts to education?
I don't want to ascribe motives to anyone, and quite frankly, this isn't about Ted Strickland. What happens to Ted Strickland isn't what's important. What we're talking about is a situation where the state of Ohio would suffer such a loss in funding for our schools that it would have consequences that extend well beyond any personal considerations, certainly. So I know it may be hard to believe, but my major concern is not myself, but my major concern is the state of Ohio. And I am quite frankly saddened by what has transpired so far. And I am troubled because I understand the consequences of what failure would mean to our state. So I'm hopeful as well, because we still have some time, not a lot of time, because the days are passing quickly, and this must be resolved appropriately by the end of this year. Otherwise, the tax postponement option will not be available to us. And for those who would contend that we've got more time, let's just be realistic. If we can't get 5 votes out of the Senate for the postponement of a tax cut, can anyone realistically assume that we could ever get 5 votes for a tax increase to make up the shortfall? So I think we face the possibility of, as I say, a cataclysmic event in Ohio if we do not solve this.
The tax cut is one of the Republicans' pet projects from the last 5 years, yet 5 Republican senators say they're willing to delay this year's tax cut. Are you telling your fellow Democrats there's anything they should compromise on, anything they should give up in return?
I want the budget problem solved. There are other problems that are of concern. But let me say to you, the construction reform is Ted Strickland's issue. Ted Strickland's issue. Because for 14 or 16 years, the Republicans were in total control of state government, and they refused to deal with this issue. I am the governor who formed the study committee. I'm the one who has stated quite publicly that I am committed to construction reform. And so it is important for us to solve the budget shortfall. And we must do that in a compressed period of time. Am I willing to talk about things that we can do to find a reasonable compromise? Absolutely, I am. But the fact is that the problem that we have is an $851 million shortfall in our budget. And I repeat what I have repeated to you in the past. It's not just Ted Strickland saying this is the correct approach. The Ohio Business Roundtable, the Ohio Chamber of Commerce, the Ohio Retail Merchants Association, the Ohio Farm Bureau, all of these groups have said that the solution that I have put forth is the most reasonable solution to solve the budget problem. And that's why I am calling upon all of my colleagues, both parties, both chambers, to understand the seriousness of what we are facing and to work in good faith to solve this problem.
Would you ever consider including all or part of construction changes in this bill? Is there time to do that, or are you saying there's just not time to do that?
You know, there hasn't even been a construction reform bill introduced in either house. There is no construction reform legislation pending. It hasn't been introduced. There's been no hearings, no serious discussion. And I think that's a legitimate observation and a reasonable concern. I am committed to construction reform. We will get it done. But what I want us to do now, within the few remaining days we have in this year, is to solve our budget dilemma.
Governor,